If you're a commission salon or spa owner working nonstop, barely paying yourself, and wondering how in the heck this became your life, you need a serious upgrade. Welcome to the station. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast designed to help salon and spa owners build, grow, and scale without the burnout. If you're tired of the hustle not matching the profit, you're in the right place. This is where we break down the real strategies, leadership skills, and business systems that turn beauty businesses into profit powerhouses. It's where beauty pros become powerful CEOs. So let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention in our industry, and that is decision fatigue. As a salon or spa owner, you are making hundreds of choices every week. Pricing, scheduling, hiring, branding, policies, conflict management. And it's really easy to get stuck in that cycle of second guessing. But what if the real reason your business feels stuck isn't because you are underqualified or maybe even overwhelmed, but because you are just avoiding the hard decisions? What if your growth isn't being blocked by a lack of resources, but by a lack of clarity and a lack of confidence? Today's episode is really just all about kind of calling that out. We're going to unpack why indecision is quietly sabotaging your business and how to train yourself to make fast, strategic moves that are going to protect your energy, your income, and your long-term success. Hey, Chandra, how are you?
Hello. Doing good.
What is a decision you dragged your feet on that ended up costing you more in the long run?
Oh, there's many of those. But I would say the most important one that was the worst decision was really getting a handle on our pricing and our budget, because I just didn't want to look at it.
Yeah, that's a hard one to look at a lot of times, right? Like we don't want to dig into that too deep. Why do you think salon owners are afraid to make the wrong call, especially when they're in that leadership role?
I think they're just nervous if they're making the right decision or not, or if they actually know what decision they should be making, so they just avoid it.
Yeah, it's scary. When you've got everything riding on your shoulders, that can be absolutely terrifying. I 100% get it, and I know you do too. So I want to share one of our success stories that we had. One of our BBA coaching clients came to us with a mile-long to-do list and zero progress. We see this quite often. She had ideas for restructuring her pricing, changing up her team roles, and revamping her service menu. But every time she got close to implementing, she would just freeze. Just freeze. What if it doesn't work? What if somebody quits? What if I just mess it all up? I bet all of you out there have felt this at one time or another. So we worked with her on decision-making frameworks, and we helped her stop over-personalizing every move. Within 2 months, she had launched her new structure, lost one toxic team member, gained 2 aligned ones, and finally saw her revenue start to increase. Not because she had better ideas, but because she finally executed on the ones that she already had. Oh, we see this all the time. Chandra, have you ever watched someone just transform just by learning how to make confident decisions?
Oh yeah, many times. A lot of the members that we've worked with, we've gone through this with a lot of them too. And it is, once you start making those decisions and you start seeing your effort and your decisions are working, then it builds that confidence, and you're not so afraid to pull the trigger on those in the future and just do it and get it done.
Why do you think taking action, even if it's imperfect, is so much more powerful than constantly tweaking ideas?
I think when you fully take action, you're actually moving forward in some direction. Even if it ends up being something you have to change or redo down the road, if you don't ever take any action, then nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to get better. So I think if you're taking that action, it's going to start moving you towards your goal in a way that, you wouldn't get there if you did nothing.
At least you're doing something. 100%. So let's be real. Most salon owners, they don't realize how much money, time, and peace they lose, not because they're making the wrong moves, but because they're making no moves at all. This is huge. Every time you hesitate, every time you overthink, every time you push a decision down to that end of that to-do list, you are stalling your momentum. And it doesn't just affect you. It trickles down. It shows up in your team, your culture, your client experience, and in your revenue. The longer you wait to choose, The more confused your team becomes, the less consistent your systems are going to get, and the harder it is to create real traction. And here's the kicker. Most indecision, it isn't about the decision itself. It is about the fear of what could happen after. Fear of losing somebody, fear of getting it wrong, fear of change, fear of what people may think. But business doesn't reward perfection. It rewards clarity, leadership, and the ability to pivot when something doesn't work. So let's talk about how you start making stronger decisions even when they scare you. Number one, decisions aren't just business tools, they are energy protectors. The longer you avoid that decision, the more brain space it's going to take up. You're checking in on it over and over and over again, running all of those what if scenarios in your head and draining your mental energy before the day even begins. That's why simplifying decision making isn't just about moving faster. It's about preserving your clarity so you have the mental capacity to lead. Chandra, do you ever notice that you feel more exhausted during the weeks where you've avoided making decisions?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think it's very draining to avoid making those decisions. Yeah.
It can be. It can be absolutely exhausting. And I still do this at times. I am a perfectionist. I'm not going to lie. And this is one of the hardest things that for me in business was learning that I had to start taking that imperfect action. Number two, when you try to keep everyone happy, you keep your business stuck. We're going to be blunt here. Trying to protect everyone else's comfort, it is going to cost you your growth. You can't build a strong business while avoiding hard conversations or even tiptoeing around other people's emotions. That doesn't make you a good leader. It makes you a burned out leader. Every single strong decision that you make, it's going to stretch someone. It might stretch your team. It might stretch your clients, but more often than not, it's going to stretch you. Leadership isn't about keeping everybody comfortable. It's about keeping the business aligned with its purpose, its values, and its goals. Chandra, have you ever made a decision that somebody didn't like, but it ended up being the best thing for your business long term?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, one thing that comes to mind is when we started bringing in Vish, which is like a color mixing. It's a simple decision. It's a little thing, but I knew it was going to shake up the team because it was going to be something different they had to do. It was an extra step that they had to do. And it was just a completely different way that they had to approach their job. And so it was a hard one because they fought me on it, and they were like, I don't have time for this thing. I don't have time for this. But now they can't live without it, and neither can I. And so it's something that, it was a little thing. It's not a major business decision, but it's something that, you just never know how people are going to react when you implement something new, and getting through those growing pains. And now, when our internet went out one day and everybody freaked out because they couldn't use the Vish. And so now it's like a part of our culture. And so those decisions they can be painful, but then on the other end, they can really make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, sometimes the smallest things are the things that blow up the most, and we aren't expecting it. Number three, you don't need 100% clarity to make a move. You need 100% commitment once you do. Here is a mindset shift that you need to take. The goal isn't to eliminate the risk. The goal is to become someone who can handle it. You are going to make some decisions with 70% clarity, and you'll learn the other 30% by doing, not by sitting in a spiral, trying to think your way to certainty. That's not going to work. Once you decide, you've got to go all in. You've got to create a plan. You've got to communicate it clearly. You've got to hold the line. Now, you're going to adjust if needed, but don't water it down before you've even seen it through. Salon owners are notorious for this. Absolutely notorious. Chandra, have you ever made that mistake?
Many times. And even still, I find myself every now and then doing that. And I have to reel it back in and be like, okay, this is for the better of everyone. Everybody's just got to get through it. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it or water it down or make it be different just because I'm worried about somebody getting upset. And so once you have that conviction in your decisions too, they trust you more, I think, and they follow you more. So I've definitely done that. And it never works out when you do that.
No, it doesn't, for sure. Okay, number 4, you can't keep trying to plan the outcome. You just lead the rollout. This one is tough for people like me that are perfectionists. Stop waiting until you've got every single step mapped out. Stop. Decide and commit. Then build the plan. Build it. If you try to design the entire path before taking the first step, you are going to stay stuck in loops forever. Build the plane as you fly it. That is how entrepreneurs win. Chandra, you and I both have seen salon owners do this over and over and over again, sometimes staying in the same spot for 5 years. I mean, we are actually dealing with this right now with a few people that we're coaching. When did you first realize that deciding was the most important part of leading, not just having everything mapped out and having that perfect plan?
I mean, I think when I started just making the decisions and moving forward with them and just doing it, and you start to realize that that is really the best way. And now I'm like, I'll try it. If it doesn't work, we'll figure it out. And they're fine with that. The team is okay with that because they know that it's always, anything I do is in the best interest for them and for the business. And so even if it's a hard decision. And so I think that's, you got to just do it, and you got to stop overthinking it.
As I've grown in my entrepreneurial journey, this has been great for me because I am so open to everything now. And you know me, I'm always telling you, like, it is what it is. We'll try it. If it works, that's great. If it doesn't, we'll just keep doing what we're doing and pivot along the way. Number 5 is start measuring success by the clarity that it brings, not just the result that it creates. Not every decision is going to be a slam dunk, and that is okay. Sometimes the best case scenario is simply realizing what doesn't work so you can move forward with a sharper insight. Clarity is always worth the risk. This is one of the biggest lessons that I have learned being a business owner. After every big decision, you need to debrief. What worked? What felt really hard? What did you learn? What would you do differently next time? This is how you actually develop leadership intelligence. Not just confidence, but actual wisdom. Number 6, the most dangerous decision is the one you keep avoiding. You know the one I'm talking about. The restructure that you've been putting off, the toxic team member that you haven't addressed, the pricing update that you've been maybe stalling on, the new role you haven't hired for yet, that decision. The one that lives in the back of your mind all day, that's the one that is costing you the most. You don't have to do everything today, but you do have to start somewhere. The longer you wait, the heavier it is going to get. Chandra, tell me about a time that you made this mistake.
Oh, I was always really good at avoiding things that I know I needed to make decisions on or get done. And that's exactly what happens. Like I think putting my structure in place was something that I dragged my feet on quite a bit. And instead I focused on service provision and not actually working on the business. And so I drug my feet because I knew it was going to be a lot and I wasn't mentally prepared to take it on. So I just ignored it. But that just made things worse and worse and worse and worse until you end up in survival mode where you can't ignore it anymore and you have to jump in and do it. So for me, that was putting that structure in place initially was definitely the biggest decision I drug my feet on for a long time. And it was not good.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. That is probably the number one decision that is costing most salon and spa owners the most right now, right? It is just getting out of that service provision role and actually leading your business. And that kind of segues us into number 7, strong businesses. They are built on bold decisions. You are not meant to build a business by hiding from your own authority. The more decisions you make from vision and not fear, the more your business is going to expand. This is how you step out of the maintenance mode and into momentum. Chandra, what would you say to the salon owner who knows what they need to do, but they are afraid of the ripple effect that decision might create?
I mean, I think you have to really think about what is going to happen if you don't make the decision. Like, what's the ripple effect on the other side of avoiding it or ignoring it, or, just going about normal instead of actually making decisions, making big changes that you need to make, because usually the other side is worse than what could possibly happen if you just made the decision. So I think just kind of flipping that mindset a little bit to the cost of indecision and not making it.
Yeah. And one of the simplest questions to ask yourself is, do I want to be where I am now, a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Usually when you ask yourself that, it will put your booty in gear and you will start doing something differently. Okay. So we got a listener question and I want to read it really quickly. How do you balance giving your team creative freedom while still running a structured business? Creatives, they want autonomy, but they actually thrive inside of structure. Your job is to create boundaries that are going to hold your business together while giving your team space to bring their personality and artistry into it. So you have to have clear roles, consistent systems, values that do not bend, boundaries that you aren't willing to break. Have you ever, Chandra, had a stylist or a technician push back on structure, but then once they kind of got used to it, they actually thrived in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think this happens all the time. I feel like any time we implement structure, there's always that like pushback and that fear from the other side. And that is what, some of them think. I'll give you a quick example because we just went through this with my team. We created a new social media posting calendar for them, and some of them were fine with it. They were cool with it. They were fine. But then I had others that were like, but I like my social media to be a certain way. And I like to post like this. And I only want this. And I'm like, but you can do those things. I'm not saying to take away your personality, take away who you are, but you just have to start consistently doing it like this. And you can throw all of your authenticity into it. And then once they realized that, they were like, oh. And they still gave me a little bit of pushback because they don't want to be put onto a schedule. But now they love it because they're actually gaining more followers and they're seeing more growth and they're getting more clients in their chair that are seeing their social media. So now they're super happy about it and they're just all excited to make content. But it was a struggle. And I feel like anytime I implement any sort of structure, there's always a little bit of a struggle. But I would say 90% of the time, it ends up really being good for them. And they are actually really happy that they have that structure in place.
So let's wrap up with this. If you're stuck, it's probably not because you're doing everything wrong. It's because you are waiting for the perfect plan. But movement, it creates clarity, and clarity creates momentum. You don't need more time to think. You need more courage to act. If you are ready to make stronger decisions, take strategic action, and finally grow with confidence, we would love to coach you through it. Head over to www.thebeautybizagency.com to check out our coaching programs and free resources. We'll help you stop spinning in circles and start building with intention. Chandra, what would you say to the owner who feels paralyzed by the pressure to always make the right choice?
I mean, you have to just get over it. I don't know any other nicer way to say it, because if you don't do something, you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to get past where you're at. So you got to just stop freaking out and take a step forward and start putting these things in place and making those hard decisions, even if you're scared, or else you'll never make it to your end goal.
That was fire. I can't think of a better way to end this episode. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks again for being with us today. Be sure to subscribe, share this episode with other beauty bosses, and follow us on all platforms. Chandra, how do our listeners connect with us?
Yeah, reach out to us at the Beauty Biz Agency on Instagram or Facebook. And you can also find us on TikTok at Beauty Biz Mentors. And shoot us any questions you want us to answer on the air. We love hearing from our listeners and we would love to help you out.
All right. Now go out there, make bank, run the show, and ditch that chair. Until next time, keep slaying those business goals with a whole lot of swagger.